All right, so you got some tennis elbow. That sucks. I've been there, I've had it. It's not a good time. You get to the point where you can barely pick up a gallon of milk without it hurting. Not ideal. A lot of the times it can happen from hitting too late in tennis, but it can also just happen from everyday living. Cleans, where you're getting this upward motion. If you're not doing them exactly right, you can definitely get some tennis elbow. If you're getting into it a little bit quickly, and not letting your muscles catch up necessarily, that can happen, or just an injury in general. Like I said, just basic living. I want to show you a few of the ways that you can get rid of it, a few of the things that you can do, and I personally have seen these work, so it's important to me to show these. Now, this isn't going to work for everybody. Not any solution is going to work for everybody. I don't care what anybody tells you. So that's just the first thing to get out of the way. The best thing that you can do is to try to heal yourself, try to do any sort of myofascial release, any sort of strengthening, any sort of stretching. Check the results within yourself. Your body will tell you right away whether it's feeling it or it's not, okay? So if your symptoms worsen when you work, say, the front side of your arm, then try the other side. See if that happens. Try to narrow it down, process of elimination style, to get the best results. That's really the only way you're gonna get rid of this. I went to a lot of different therapists. I wish I could tell you that they had a magic bullet. None of them made it any better whatsoever. In fact, it actually got worse. That's when I took things into my own hands. So, one of the things that you can do, by far the most effective, is myofascial release. Typically people are gummed up right along here, or anywhere along the arm. It could be in the shoulder, it could be in the pec, could be in the back, all right? Because you can get tennis elbow on either side of your arm, okay? So that's important to realize as well. There's not just one cure for this, not just one solution. So one of the things that I like to do, and if you don't have the rack roller, you can do this with a piece of PVC pipe leaning up against something. Where it gets a little bit more complex is where you're doing the inside of things. You can kind of go, like this with a smaller pipe. It's just not that effective. That's why I use the rack roller. So what you do is you open it up, insert a limb, and typically you want to go to the spot where it hurts the most, and that'll tell you what's really gummed up, okay? So anytime you're doing myofascial release, if there's no problem, you're not gonna feel a whole lot of response. But if there's a problem area, it's not exactly gonna tickle, okay? And you don't want it to. So the first thing you do is you put your limb in, you go ahead and tighten the set screw, then you start to increase the leverage, all right? And by this point, you can feel it pinching off on the muscle and the fascia and all that connective tissue that's gummed up. You can feel it pretty good, okay? So next thing you want to do is you want to start to roll, okay? And this is fantastic because you can go really slowly and you can pinpoint the exact areas. And then say you want just a little bit different angle, open up your set screw, get your different angle, and go to town. Leave it just a little bit more loose than you think it needs to be, and then crank down a little bit more with leverage, and then start to roll, okay? So you can go all the way up your arm with this. This is what's so effective for getting, this inside that's so hard to get with leaning up against something with a PVC pipe, all right? So then you just start to roll along here. I mean, you can see it creates just a massive divot in your, in your skin. And this is the sort of thing that's really gonna inspire some change, okay? So that's a big part of it. Now, another really effective part, strengthening. Okay, so for strengthening, one of the things that I've found to be effective is this. Super simple, PVC pipe, you drill a hole into it, you put a rope through there, and I got just a washer on the other side tied in there. Anything that makes this rope not slip through this aperture, okay? Then you're gonna start to crank this up. Now, one of the really effective ways that you can enhance this is doing just one side, okay? So see how this other side isn't doing anything? Crank it up, the other side's not doing anything. Crank it up, other side's not doing anything. Okay, so we'll speed it up. So as not to bore anybody, when you get to the top, it's important to come back down, okay? Get that negative in. Again, this other side's just holding on, all right? So my left side here, all it's doing is holding on. You can start to see my hands starting to shake. And I play, you know, a good bit of tennis, so I've got fairly strong forearms, but this thing will rock your world. Even if you do deadlifts, cleans, that sort of thing, this is just a different type of strength. So it's really effective. And a final thing I wanted to show you is getting some myofascial release with the LaCrosse ball. This can be super effective. These things are amazing. So a final thing I want to show you is with the LaCrosse ball. These things are awesome. They're super cheap. You can just lean against the wall like this to try to get all this tissue broken up. And this is just a little bit more pointed than these rollers will be. The difficulty is when you have this side and you're trying to lean against something. It's just sort of an awkward movement. I like to use the rack roller because you can do it while you're sitting down, all right? So watching a football game or something, it's no problem whatsoever to get this thing cranked up. So set yourself in here, tighten your set screw, and just go to town. So you can roll with the top part and get the bottom part going. And you can probably tell this doesn't exactly tickle either. And then you can move the LaCrosse ball from the bottom to the top for maximum effect. And then I'm just gonna show you how you can lean against the wall to really get your pecs and your anterior delts fired. Okay, so this is the final thing I want to show you. LaCrosse ball against the wall, super effective for getting that anterior delt and pec released. Just doing the doorway stretch, it's not gonna cut it, okay? So you're not getting any of that connective tissue broken up, which is exactly what you need to do to make this tennis elbow feel better. So you're gonna lean against the wall like this, just dig in, okay? And you can move over to the pec. You can do this with a lacrosse ball or a softball, basically anything that's really dense that's gonna give you the effect you're looking for. So try that out, see what you think. This should probably take care of your tennis elbow, but again, the biggest thing, just listen to your body. Do trial and error, see what works for you. That's the best advice I can give you.